Hey everyone, SuperShadix Boom here, and I'm just going to be talking about domestic action figures and import action figures. I live in the US of A, so I'm talking toys from America and Japan. Just clarifying because, you know, for some people, all toys are imports, or for Japanese people, obviously these figures are domestics for them. Also, this is entirely opinionated and based on my experiences and perspective. Okay, let's get right into things, starting with domestics. There's a good handful of companies that make action figures over here, but the most dominant force is Hasbro, with Fortnite, G.I.Joe, My Little Pony, Indiana Jones, Power Rangers, Ghostbusters, LeBron James, Transformers, fucking Overwatch, and two of the biggest IPs ever, Marvel and Star Wars. With all these lines being done by the same company, they would be consistent in quality and value, right? Well, you'd think that. With Hasbro, some lines definitely get more love than others. Some lines give you an incredible amount of stuff for the price, while some are borderline scams. It's really a figure-to-figure basis, and however they're feeling that day. Somebody gets a compliment by their barista, we get Spiral. Drop their phone in the toilet, we get Speedball. I'm a more recent collector when it comes to Hasbro and domestics in general. For the longest time, I was actually a Marvel Legends hater and dismissed most American figures. Yeah, I bought one Figma and became an elitist. I only spend the big bucks on good shit, not these garbage normie Marvel and Star Wars toys. Bruh, I was like fucking 12 years old thinking this shit. It's even sadder that there's people older than me who still think this way. I was really bad though. For a while, I was against Mafexes because I thought they were American, making all these MCU figures and crap. Yeah, that's what kept me away from Mafex, and not at all the fact that these figures broke if you looked at them wrong. It was more of a jab against domestic figures for me. America toy break, lol. Can you blame me though? Why'd Japan be making Clockwork Orange and Michael Jordan figures? Those are American icons. Yeah, there was Figuarts too, but I trusted them. They made Dragon Ball toys. But in 2021, my action figure addiction was at an all-time high, and I needed my fix. So I was in a GameStop one day and I saw the Marvel Legends AI Iron Man. I was hesitant at first since I was still a hater, but it looked good enough, so I caved in and bought it, and it all went downhill ever since. One of the major appeals for me was the price. I got a fun, good-looking action figure for only $20, yo. And oftentimes Hasbro figures go on sale, so they get even cheaper? Holy cow, can you see how I got hooked? The distribution is also great. Yeah, there's plenty of online places to get stuff, but being able to go into a Walmart, Target, GameStop, and maybe some local stores is simply magical and convenient when they have shit in stock. If you live outside the US, I'm so sorry, especially with these price hikes. I need to be real here, the solid quality and affordable price range is what made these figures so appealing to collect. You can appeal to adult collectors by making figures more pinless and toe-hingy, but at the end of the day, these figures are for kids. Do people just not see the 4+ on the box? Kids won't be able to invest in this stuff with these leaving the $20 price range. You know, y'all's primary demographic and biggest source of revenue. Marvel Legends is literally baby's first action figure line. Come on bro, why else would these things be in the kids toy section and not the Turbo Virgin collector section with the funky pops? Now I'm not trying to shame or insult anyone, for Christ's sake I like fucking Power Rangers.
We've got to get those balls!
I'm just being real though. With Hasbro making stuff for kids, that's probably why domestic figures are built like tanks. You can slam and toss these things all over the place and not break them, where import figures fall apart if they just tip over. And if your figure does break, they're way easy to replace. QC wise, it's kind of a pick your poison scenario. While it's very easy to break an import if you're not careful, with Hasbro there's the possibility of just getting a broken toy right out of the box. There's plenty of cheaper quality $20 toy lines, like Loyal Subjects' Best Action line and Bandai America's Anime Heroes line. It's definitely fair to say Hasbro are the top dogs in this market. There's a pretty big quality gap here, with Jada Toys too. $20 figures are cool and all as long as they stay at like $25 max. I'd consider higher end to be $35 and up. You don't count, which is where NECA comes into play. This company is rad, making stuff more geared to collectors by making stuff based on older or obscure properties. Horror movies and Ninja Turtles go hand in hand beautifully. They got stuff for everybody, and NECA goes balls deep with their figures. Can you really trust anyone else to make a wingnut figure? Solid quality on all their releases and phenomenal accessories. When it comes to paint, NECA is kind of weird for me. They're either the paint gods or paint slobs. Come on, I've seen basic $10 figures do better. NECA has really good stuff, all while still being affordable. They just cost a little more than Hasbro's offerings. The ultimate ace-up domestic sleeves is Mezco, the pinnacle of American action figures, incredible quality, detail, an ass-crack ton of accessories, and even electronic parts. You definitely get your money's worth with Mezco figures, which is good since these things are in the $100 price range. Jeez, it's almost like price is a factor in all this. Now, I love my two Mezco figures, but Mezco is definitely more of an acquired acquired taste. Y'all probably noticed the pajamas these things are wearing. Sometimes the soft goods go hard like on this Wolverine, but most of the time they don't really click for me. The figures feel amazing though. When you hold this Iron Man, it feels like you're holding 90 bucks. Mafex are around the same price but don't feel nearly as premium. Of course there's other high-end domestic lines like Executive Replicas and Mythic Legions. These figures look awesome and seem high quality, but look at me, do I look like I give a shit about medieval times in indie comics? Jada Toys is also really cool. Definitely not high-end, sitting at 20 to 25 bucks, but they're an excellent example of what the lower budget action figure market should be. Healthy amount of accessories and great quality at a phenomenal price. What if you want anime figures though? Well, your two options are Bandai America and Todd McFarlane. Definitely stick with Bandai, at least they're a branch of a Japanese company. I'm counting them since they're still based in America and have American products. They aren't just a distributor like Bluefin. Bandai US is alright. They have a decent variety with their $10 Naruto and Dragon Ball figures with slightly better $20 Dragon Stars and Anime Heroes figures. All these figures look good enough and are fine for what you pay for. They're really cheap though, not gonna lie. Pins in the shoulders? Yikes. I've had a fair share of $10 figs that feel nicer, and Hasbro is definitely way better, not as squeaky and cheap feeling. As for McFarlane, most of them look or move like shit with very few standout figures. Unless it's like a gift or something, don't even bother. Dragon Stars and Anime Heroes are definitely a good option for kids and solid stand-ins for Figuarts. They're also a great gateway drug for getting into imports. I still like my cooler figure even though I have the S.H.F, because what's more important to me is that it's just a plain and simple fun action figure. I would have loved to have something like this as a kid, and I still enjoy it as a man-child, which is what the real appeal about domestics is for me. Well-crafted, good-looking action figures that are super fun and affordable. Domestics aren't really that bad, loads of good stuff here. The only people hating on domestics are just Marvel Legends haters and weebs. Trust me, I know, because I was both of those things, and still am kinda. Heading over to Japan, we have the cream of the crop, pinnacle of toys. They straight up have like an entire town dedicated to this shit. One thing I can definitely give to imports is that the paint application and details are incredible, especially on the smaller things, as they should be since they're very pricey. But even the lower costing SHFs go hard. I never really understood when a Hasbro collector would complain about the paint job not being immaculate and godlike. Dude, these things are cheap. That's what you get. Domestics do have good paint ups on the actual figures, especially NECA, but with tiny ass accessories, I get why they're not fine art quality. They're small as shit, these things are mass produced, and little Timmy's just gonna lose it in a week. As long as the base figure looks solid, I'm content. With imports, it's more of a focus. The 15 and up year olds care way more about these things, so it makes sense they'd get more attention. Tamashii Nations and Max Factory are insane when it comes to fine details and accessory paint. Mafex is sort of on the weaker side of things, more hiccups than the other two, but still great most of the time. You have higher chances of getting sloppier paint on a domestic than an import. Guess they're more strict in Japan. I don't like to harbor on paint too much. No paint job is ever going to be perfect since, well, it's all down to human error. Something about imports just feel way better in hand too. Higher quality plastics, smooth joints, and overall consistency. With domestics, it's pretty much a gamble how your figure will turn out. Loosey-goosey, a literal bricked, perfect, or even in shambles. Import quality has gone down a bit, mostly with SHF. 5 years ago, a cheap figure art felt way better than your standard Marvel Legends, or even deluxe release. But now some Legends feel better than some Figuarts. Obviously, Hasbro had to counter this by resorting to chewing gum. With Figma, I feel the actual quality of the figures themselves have stayed relatively the same, but the value has definitely fallen off, and they make these stupidest design decisions sometimes. Still my favorite line though, I will die on this hill. And Mafex has just been going up, man, achieving godhood in my opinion. With SHF catching up though. A while back, a lot of their anime offerings, besides Dragon Ball, were really shitty and creepy looking, almost porcelain doll-like. Oops, that's a buzz mod. Now, as much as I love sucking off import figures, let's not act like their shit don't stink. These things are expensive, you can't deny that. Most of the time it's worth it, imports come with a bunch of stuff, but the shipping, holy crap does it get pricey. It really grinds my gears when someone is like, bro, importing figures is so lit and way cheaper. This figure right here is only $50. You know, without even factoring in the fucking $25 to $35 shipping. Still better than getting stuff on Big Scam Toy Store, but sometimes it is better to get things on BBTS. Blasphemous, I know. Obviously, Figma and Mafex are a no-no, stay the hell away. But Figuarts is normally fine. Cheap ones are really not worth importing in my opinion, unless it's part of a big order. Like this Anya for example. 36 bucks seems better than $45.
Hot buttered popcorn, that's a deal.
but then that 36 would turn into like 60 bucks, where on BBTS it would only be like 55. The worst thing about imports has to be the fragility. I have so many fucked up Figmas and I didn't even do nothing to them. I broke both of my Doom Guy's shoulder cannons. First one, I will admit, was entirely my fault. This thing looked like a hinge, so I forced it. Turned out it wasn't a hinge. But the second one broke just from trying to put it on his shoulder. And it's devastating when something breaks, since they're so much more costly. If you break a Hasbro figure, oh no, I have to spend $15 to $20 to get a new one. Domestic solos imports when it comes to durability. You have to treat these things like delicate pieces of glass. Switching the hands on a Mafex is equivalent to defusing a bomb. Toss a Hasbro figure down the stairs, there will be some damage, but still in one piece. Drop this Mafex on a towel and it's all over, dude. Obviously don't go and violate your figures, but I shouldn't be quaking in my boots whenever I mess with someone's thighs. On a more positive note, sort of, with how imports are assembled, the parts are normally able to be put back into place. Although, I've never had a Hasbro figure fall apart in my hands before, just saying. This isn't the biggest of dealios, more of a pet peeve, but it's really annoying sometimes the amount of tiny shit on these figures. It just makes handling and managing them a chore. Small accessories is one thing, but actual parts of the figure, it's infuriating sometimes. Cause if you drop something, it's all over. I was gonna say that imports completely dominate when it comes to accessories, but there's a hefty amount of figures that only come with hands. Sometimes that's all a character needs, or it's to get you to buy a separate figure for their accessories. It's mostly a cost-saving measure to make figures more affordable. And at least imports typically come with all the hands that a character needs. Hasbro just be mad stingy sometimes.
You don't want these hands!
Even the cheaper quality figures like Best AXN and Anime Heroes come with a couple pairs of hands. Some Hasbro figures do come with a great amount of stuff. G.I. Joes are a great example. Still though, while imports do come with a good amount of stuff, Mezco does offer about the same or even more than some imports. When it comes to articulation, it's purely subjective, honestly. Domestics are super fun and charming, and some people can get real creative with this setup. For me personally, I don't really fuck with the basic ab crunch. The range is phenomenal, but the way the middle protrudes out is weird, and the two basic directions is very limited compared to having access to all directions. The waist swivel also sucks. This kick-ass Storm Shadow has a ball jointed waist and an ab crunch, while some figures have the opposite setup, ball jointed diaphragm with a waist crunch. I definitely prefer the latter, but it only really improves the domestic setup by like 5%. Oh, and the neck hinge is cringe. Import setup is just way better in my opinion. Dumbbell neck, dumbbell waist and torso, drop down legs, and toe joints. Thankfully, more recent Hasbro figures have caught up with this engineering. Toe joints shouldn't be a luxury though. I'll give points to Hasbro for their calf swivel and iconic ankles. Ball hinges are great and more versatile, but I love Hasbro ankle pivot. Import ankles are cleaner looking, but geez, at what cost? Who the fuck is hyper fixating on the look of an action figure's ankles? Let them pivot, gosh darn it. And I love the calf swivel. How is this not standardized? It's so easy to implement. Import companies are more experimental with their engineering. Amazing Yamaguchi be doing the wildest shit. But sometimes these companies over-engineer things for the fun of it, and it's kind of pointless sometimes. While domestics like keeping things more streamlined, occasionally going crazy with robot characters. A lot of this stuff really depends on the sculpts too, like the Marvel Legends Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man has way better movement and range than the S.H.Figuarts Revy, despite having the better articulation setup. I vastly prefer import chicks too. They're normally on par with the guys. To be fair, only Marvel Legends women suck. The rest of Hasbro's girls go hard, except for the single jointed elbows. The only L for import ladies is that they tend to have very tiny feet, so they're a little harder to balance. Overall, import articulation is technically better, but domestics are still fun. At least imports wouldn't be caught dead with a neck hinge. The horror! One major plus for imports is you only really need one of them. Why buy 50 Spider-Mans till they make the one you want if you could just save up and get the most definitive version that you'll ever need? If you prefer doing one figure per character, imports is the way to go. Just food for thought. You can be big baby dweebs by debating and bickering all day, or you can be hunky Giga Chad alpha male elite gamers and collect both imports and domestics in perfect harmony, having the best of both worlds. The fun factor and affordability of domestic figures and the premium quality and accessories of imports. I love the experience of opening up an import and just marveling at it. Taking a domestic figure with me when I leave the house, or just kicking back on the couch and messing with the figure is so great. I love both my White Rangers for different reasons. The figure art has better paint and detail and solid construction construction, but the Lightning Collection version is also fire. Loads of fun to handle and play with, Hasbro ankles being way cooler, and I like the proportions more. It looks more like an actual dude in a costume instead of an anorexic giraffe. No offense to my tall skinny dudes, but come on, there's no way a human skull is inside that helmet. Except maybe me, I have a pretty tiny head. Even Tamashi knows this, which is why they have a whole line of Figuarts dedicated to remaking some of these figures with better proportions. As much as I and many others like to rag on Hasbro, you can't deny that they have definitely evolved and improved. Updated articulation and being pinless so they look even better than ever. It's funny how Hasbro collectors cream their pants when a figure is pinless. It's not that big a dealio. Imports been pinless, bro. I really like these pill looking joints that imports have for their elbows and knees. Anyways, I never really minded the pins that much. Even as a Marvel Legends hater, the pins were not even on my list of reasons why I hated them. I always dug the whole toyetic feel of them, and from afar, standing on my shelf, you barely even notice the pins. And when they're the same colors, it's completely fine. Now on figures with different colors, yeah, they stick out like a sore thumb. Pinless for sure benefits the look. It really threw me off when they started doing that. I thought it was some new higher end company doing Marvel figures. It's the evolution of a collector. You start with Legos or 3 3/4 inch to 4 inch figures, upgrade to 6 inch, then move up to imports. But you can collect all of the above as well. You can argue all you want, but I find it to be kind of dumb. It's really unfair since people tend to misrepresent things and have it be really unbalanced, touting imports as super prolific, high-end, expensive figures, and domestics being cheap baby garbage, when both countries have equal amounts of premium and cheap action figures. Like Mezco and Mythic Legions, these lines are expensive, high quality, and come with hella accessories. The debate really is just high-end figures versus lower costing figures, which isn't really all that fair. It's like generic brand and name brand. Yeah, the name brand is usually higher quality and way better, but it costs more. While generic brand is cheaper in price and quality, but still good and does what you need it to do, it's just not as good. Both the same thing, just not really fair to compare objectively. Now imports are godlike, I know. Well, so we have terms such as import level or import quality, but when people say that, they really just mean high quality or high end. Japan has plenty of cheapy stuff too, like little figures with frickin' stickers for details. A more fair comparison would be like this: Gundam Universe and Marvel Legends, both $25 lines with some hands and additional accessories, with both lines having standard releases as well as deluxe figures that come with more stuff. And well, I gotta give it to the imports here. It's not leagues better, but the plastics feel like a more premium material and the joints are perfect all around. Japan just tends to go hard with toys no matter what price range or who the audience is. Y'all ever seen a Japanese Beyblade compared to an American one? I definitely think Japan got us beat when it comes to toys, but that's just my opinion, and at the end of the day, it doesn't fucking matter. Stop acting like you're hot shit for spending ridiculous amounts of money on toys, and stop being a little brat about how a children's company doesn't cater to you specifically. We're all just a bunch of dorks buying toys. Doesn't matter how old you are or what country you prefer. Spend your money and collect whatever you want, as long as you have fun and it makes you happy. Technically speaking, aren't all figures imports since they all come from China, Vietnam, or Taiwan? So if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and thank you so much for sitting through my video. But I'd like to hear from you. Do you prefer domestic, imports, or both? I'd love to know. Bye. Thanks for watching.